Oh, welcome back to the tier, everybody. This is the upper tier. This is your transfer show. You are joined tonight by myself and Darren, my co-host. How are we, Darren?
I'm all good, pal. How are you feeling? More's the point.
I'm not feeling great, but I felt an obligation to show up. Let's say, which is what I have to do. I'm absolutely feeling rotten. Um, we'll have a little chat about it, of course, while we're waiting for our chat to fill up and stuff like that.
You feel a
Um,
little bit better than you did yesterday, right?
Well, I feel a little bit human because I think I got about 4 hours sleep last night as opposed to the previous two nights where I literally got 20 minutes, wake up, 20 minutes, wake up. It was an absolute killer.
It's not fun in
Um,
that, man.
I had a massive temperature, so I spent my time standing in front of that fan like Heisenberg and that scene in the refrigerator scene in Breaking Bad.
I'm not even
Morris,
laughing at that. I'm laughing at Morris. Morris is already
this
on
lad
it
is
tonight.
weighted with bated breath. This lad loves this show. He's all over it. He
He
has it ready to
absolutely does.
go. Fair play to him. Hats off to you, Morris. We'll pull you in now in a second when we get the show going. But yeah, Stinker had 102 temperature. Couldn't shift that, and I think because I had the temperature, I couldn't sleep. I had restless legs. My ribs feel like they've been punched off me because of the cough. Um, Everything. And apparently, we went to the chemist today. Apparently, there's this new cough bottle out, and it has the codeine in its back. For all you people out there who know what codeine is, the codeine is in this cough bottle. I'll pop it in the comments tomorrow when I pick it up. Apparently, you have to order it, but it's not prescription. Um, but Hillary was a bit hesitant on that because a couple of years back I got my veins done in my leg and I got addicted to codeine. So she's a
Right?
little bit hesitant and I got proper addicted to it now. I was kazonged for about 10 days. I got varicose veins stripped out of my leg. One of
Yeah.
the most painful things I've ever had done, and I got addicted to the codeine to numb the pain. But we'll see what happens with that one.
Does it not
But
have
yeah,
your? Does the codeine not destroy your stomach?
when you're in as much pain as I was, I go with a destroyed stomach as opposed to the pain I was feeling in the leg at the time. If you can imagine your leg being bruised from your ankle to your lower regions, all the way up, and I had something in the region of 55 nicks in my leg. That's how bad my leg was when I got it done. It was pretty bad. It was the first time Hillary was delighted because I actually looked like I had a black banger. But I didn't. It was just bruised to bits from the operation. But let's get into this anyway. Um,
Hillary,
Few
once you
things
go
to point
back, you
to.
never go back. Don't worry about it.
Oh no, yeah, but she had no choice. She had to because it went away.
Oh, oh
In more
God.
ways than one. In more ways than one. I'm just putting that out there.
Oh
But
God.
yeah, bit of housekeeping there to put out there. First of all, thinking about Mark, our resident referee, who's a little bit ill at the moment. He should be back home at this stage now. So shout out to Mark. He said he'd be watching the show. I'm not sure if he'd be up and jumping into the comments or the chat or anything like that, but he was a little bit ill. I thought I was ill till he sent me his, so it was a bit out of the blue. So hope he's healing up nicely, let's say. Also, I'd like to put a shout out to the Moore family there. Last Friday, we lost David Moore's um, former CEO of Liverpool, and his family have a huge tradition, Liverpool Football Club, dating back to the 1930s. This man was a huge Liverpool fan and was part owner. One of his big regrets, obviously, was overseeing the Gillette and Hicks situation, to the point where he had to stay away from the club because it was so upsetting. But came back to the club, thankfully, in 2019 and was made an honorary president of Liverpool Football Club. Himself and wife came back in, I think it was December 2019, to look at a Merseyside derby where we beat Everton on the night, which was brilliant as well. But what makes the story even sadder as well, it was only, I think, it was Friday we lost David, but it was, I think, 3 weeks before that he had lost his wife. So it was a double whammy on the family. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the Moores family. I will be dropping a Shankly Session show on David Moore's. I just didn't get around to it this week because I've just been banjoed with this sickness. And I think anyone who watches the Shankly Sessions and watches my podcast know these shows that I do them with a heavy heart and they're dear to me. And I want to do them properly. So thoughts and prayers to the Moore family. Anyway, how's your week been?
Same old, same old. Bit of sunshine, bit of a tan, lots of noisy kids. Like What else could you say?
Not much. Right, let's get into the transfer show. Morris in here. First
Let's get
comment in.
down and dirty.
Thoughts on Koulibaly being pocketed by Eddie and Keddy a Saturday night? Todd Bowley or Willie Bowley? I'm gonna come up with something here in a second. There's
Right.
something I want to say here, and you're gonna get double props, Darren, out of this.
I
I
am.
didn't put it. I didn't put it in the sheet that I sent you, and I know you're wondering what it was. Morris in the comments as well here. He says, "Still looking sexy, although sick." Stop, Morris. I'm in a heap here. My eyes are barely open. Don't get me started. Our ref is here. Our ref is here. Evening, lads. You look great. Can't wait for tomorrow. Uh, look, because every day you get better looking. Stop you
What a
now. He
man.
must be. That man's drugged up to the
It's the
eyeballs tonight.
drugs.
The drugs. He won't even recall saying this. I'm telling you that now.
Fine. You'll be getting a screenshot in the morning.
I know, absolutely. I'll tell you what it was. I sent you the sheet earlier on the transfers we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
And down the bottom, I had Jesus and I had Chelsea with 2 question marks.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you were saying, what's that about?
I
Where's
actually
he
kind of
going?
thought you were saying Jesus Chelsea, as in
Yeah,
like what?
yeah. Well, that's kind of where I'm going. I don't know if you've seen the highlights or if you've seen the match the other night, the Florida Cup.
Did I saw the highlights yet?
Okay. 2 things I want to give you props for, and I'll get your comments on it. One, when Arsenal were signing Jesus and people were losing their mind about the number of goals and all this kind of thing, the one thing you stood firm on was it wasn't necessarily the amount of goals he was going to bring to Arsenal, but it's how he was going to raise the work rate of that club and the people around him. And I think if there was ever a definition of that, it was the other night. Now, I know people are going to come on and go pre-season friendly and blah, 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 blah. I don't care. You know,
No.
I still got hurt that United beat me 4-0. Doesn't matter that it's pre-season. It still hurts. But I think it was very much in evidence there the other night. Um, he raises that work rate and he makes those players around him better players. What
Yeah,
what's your
100%.
what's your thoughts on that?
100%. I mean, if you look at his work rate at City, and you look at how often his name was one of the first on the team sheet, Guardiola obviously held him in extremely high regard, and you don't get to be held in that kind of regard by a guy like Pep Guardiola unless you do an awful lot of things right. And for Jesus, at times it wasn't the goals and it wasn't the assists, it was the work rate. However, the only thing I will kind of garnish that with is I think, along with the work rate, I think this season is the first time we're going to see him get the kind of numbers that you would expect from a player of his quality, and from a player in that kind of top 6 side. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now the second part of this was a few weeks ago, and on a couple of shows so far, you've been talking to me about Chelsea. And we've been kind of excited about Todd Bowley coming in to see what's going to evolve at Chelsea, who they're going to bring in, what it's going to look like, what Tuchel's team is going to look like, and stuff like that. They looked way off the pace the other night. Way off. They looked like they hadn't even started pre-season.
No, it was extremely lethargic. Now listen, I know Chelsea fans are going to say, but it's pre-season, and I get that completely. But I just think it left more questions than answers. I think from a Chelsea point of view and from a fan's point of view, you would look around there and you would think, what direction are we going in here? There's an awful lot of that squad is extremely unbalanced. I understand Bowley wants to do a lot of the, work on a lot of the deals himself. That becomes difficult though, because working on multiple deals, then when you had a Marina and a Bruce Buck, maybe 2 people get the deal done a little quicker, or maybe 2 people go and work on 2 separate deals, and you're still keeping everything ticking. Chelsea at the minute have gone a little bit quiet in the transfer market. Obviously losing Lukaku, they brought in Sterling, and then obviously losing, what they've lost at the back and stuff like that. Christensen obviously gone. Marcos Alonso and Azpilicueta are still heavily linked with Barcelona and stuff like that. It looks like now they've lost out on Rafinha to Barcelona. It looks like now they're going to lose out on Jules Koundé to Barcelona. And although they've brought in the boy Koulibaly, who's a very, very good player, I still think there's an awful lot missing at Chelsea right now. An awful lot missing, you know?
What have you kind of made of their plan? Or is it kind of like, are they floating from the next best name kind of thing,
Yeah.
or is there an actual plan? Because I hear today now we're reading that they've switched their interest from Jules Koundé to Denzel Dumfries. Now, Denzel Dumfries is a player that's been heavily linked with Manchester United. Are they kind of sitting back and looking at positions to see who's being linked with some of the top clubs and going, maybe we'll throw an R in there or throw an R in here? But is there an actual, does Thomas Tuchel actually have a plan for this team to say, here's my targets and who I want? Now, obviously, he didn't get Rafinha. He brought in Raheem Sterling, who's going to be an excellent signing.
Yeah.
Koulibaly's going to be an excellent signing. There's no doubt about them. I mean, the quality is there. But they haven't got Koundé. They haven't got Rafinha. And then they seem to be just kind of. Then there's talk as well. If you look at Gallagher the other day, the way he was played in that formation didn't suit at all.
No.
The talk going around of bros, you want them to go. There's a lot of talk first of Timo Werner now has come out and be really vocal, which I think is crazy. If I was Timo Werner, I'd be shutting my mouth, like, you know what I mean? Because it's crazy. But apparently he's very concerned about his playing time coming into a World Cup year, which I kind of get.
Absolutely.
But there's a lot of rumblings going on there as well, isn't there, at the moment? And it's very, very concerning, isn't it? And I'm looking at who they're linked with, and I don't see it as being, I look at Denzel Dumfries, and I don't think of him as being a Chelsea target or a Chelsea player.
So there's a few things about Dumfries for me. I suppose Inter have come out and have said we're open to letting Dumfries leave the club, and they've apparently put a figure on his head, which allows the world then to make a judgment whether they want to pay that out fee or not, or whether they want to go in a little bit lower and stuff. But invariably, the big issue with Dumfries is he's a right wing back or a right back. You know, he's not a centre back. Koundé is a centre back. I mean, is Dumfries going to go in ahead of Reece James? I would say it's highly unlikely. Are you going to pay 30 odd million on a guy like Denzel Dumfries if he's going to be our backup right back? Again, highly unlikely. Are they going to try and play Dumfries in the right of a back three? Possibly, but that's a mistake. And anyone that's seen Denzel Dumfries, we did a fantasy game for the Euros last year, and Dumfries was a really good pick as a defender for you. But it had nothing to do with his defending prowess. It was the way he moves forward through the gears and the way he gets on the front foot as a right wing back or as a right back, not as a centre back. I would worry about Chelsea going in for Dumfries and maybe trying to shoehorn him into a right-sided centre-back slot with Koulibaly on the left and with Thiago Silva in the middle. That doesn't excite me. Unless I'm a United fan and I'm thinking, we get to come up against these. Happy days. I don't necessarily think, Koulibaly has unbelievable legs that he'll be able to deal with the speed of the Premier League. I think Dumfries does, but again, he wants to be on the front foot all the time. You don't want a situation where every time you get that counter-attack coming, your right-sided centre-back is 20 yards up the pitch, because that's going to leave massive gaping holes, and it's really going to leave Chelsea. But I think that, as you said there, that the big issue with me for Chelsea is they just seem to be moving the goals. And it's every time that didn't work, we'll move it. That didn't work, we'll move it. Like, I don't know. I would imagine Koundé was quite high up their list. We know from January.
Has been from previous year even. Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, I think that's somebody who Tuchel wanted. I think that's somebody who Bowley said, let's try and go and get him. Obviously Barca are trying to get involved in the conversation. Now listen, I still think there's huge issues at Barca. So don't maybe know if they're still talking about a couple of lads not being registered for La Liga, even though they've played in friendly games. Rafinha and Lewandowski haven't been registered for La Liga yet because of the financial issues they're having. So I mean, Barca aren't, while they might pretend and they might be putting up a front to say we've got cash on the hip here. I don't know. I don't know if Sevilla are going to bite on this deal the way they will the Chelsea one. I wouldn't be surprised to see Koundé still land at Chelsea, if I'm honest. But the issue Chelsea will have then is, does he want to go to Chelsea? Or is he going to Chelsea because the Barcelona deal can't be done? Do you know?
Yeah, going for the right or wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Going for the Jesse Lingard reasons.
Well, we're going to talk about
better.
that. We're going to talk about that, and it's good. That'll be an interesting conversation, actually, because I listened to some of it. Darren, spot on again with Conte delivering a trophy. Congrats to Spurs. Morris is in. 20-1 top goal scorer, lads. 38 games guaranteed unless injured Jesus. I don't... no, I don't think so.
He'll be in the top 5.
So. I think he'll be in the mix. But I think he'll just. I think he'll just be that level down off Golden Boot, won't he?
Listen, you've got ahead of him. You've got Haaland, Kane. You've got Nunez, Salah. You've got Son. There's 5 who personally I would imagine will get more. I would possibly even throw Sterling into the mix.
Depending on how they finish up.
Depending on how they, depending on what they finish. If Sterling ends up with somebody beside him, we still don't know if Sterling is going to play through the middle or if he's going to play wide at the minute. There's so many questions.
So much to be decided. Yeah.
Chelsea need a striker.
Chelsea,
Morris, you are not wrong.
Didn't replace their top scorer too. Jesus, going in hard tonight. You're an Arsenal fan, aren't you, Morris? Manager-owner conflict will lead to Tuchel leaving this year 100%. What's your thoughts on that, Darren? I don't. Is that a stretch or is that?
I don't think it's a stretch, if I'm honest. Because I think as a manager, Tuchel's not going to be the kind of person who's gonna not put his best foot forward because the club hasn't been able to do what was needed. Do you know what I mean? I think when he looks behind the scenes and he goes, yes, they have ambition, yes, they want to do things, but at the minute, because of the makeup of the back room and stuff like that, and the ownership, maybe they're not in the position to go out and get the targets that Tuchel wants. I think that would annoy Tuchel greatly, that he was being held back and the club were being held back by a businessman in Todd Bowley. I think that would irk him greatly.
It's a tough introduction to the sport, though, for Todd Bowley, isn't it? It's a tough window. With the World Cup coming up and stuff like that, and a lot of players tied down and things like that and all. And
it is, but you'd have
it's a baptism of fire, really, isn't it?
It is, but you'd have to ask about that's when you really need to dig deeper, and you need to ask about Bruce Buck. You need to ask about Marina, because
the changes he made.
The changes he made, and you have to ask, who is he now taking his information from? Yeah. Because and this happened at United as well, when Ferguson left. The biggest issue I had with Ferguson leaving was that Gill left with him. And the biggest issue I had with Gill leaving was that Ferguson left with him. And you lost that continuity and you lost that know-how in the market and stuff like that. And I think Chelsea have lost that at the minute. And I think that can be difficult to get back unless you're willing to get the right people in around you. And I know
you need that sounding board, don't you?
Absolutely. And you need football people, don't you? You need football people to bounce names off and go, what about the boy here? Or what about the boy there? Or there's a kid here? Or what is that guy over the hill? Or where do we look at this? Or, whereas I don't personally imagine Todd Bowley's having those conversations. I could be completely wrong, and maybe I'm doing the guy a disservice. But it doesn't strike me like that's happening.
Yeah, Tuchel has to be heavily involved, doesn't he? Has to be. Right now, with no other sounding board in place, like with the likes of a Bruce Buck and a Marina gone, nothing else available there to you, or only the manager. It's got to be the guy you're going to. And if Tuchel was the only guy he was going to, I'd still be really, really happy with that, because I would know at least the manager was getting what he wanted to create his side, his squad, his Chelsea. Yeah. Daz in the comments here. Hi Niall, how do you think we'll line up tomorrow against Salzburg? Thanks for joining us tonight, Daz. I think it'll be rotational, Daz. To be honest, we've got the Community Shield coming up at the weekend, and I think that'll be more where the priority is. To be honest, I don't see it being with the Salzburg game. I think he'll play a reasonable side, but I think there'll be a lot of rotation. He'll give the boys a bit of a run out and stuff like that. All eyes will be on
It's
Saturday,
minutes.
5
It's
p.m. I
minutes
think
in
it
the
is.
legs. That's all it
Yeah,
is.
just minutes in the
Minutes
leg
in the
for
legs.
lads who are really catching up at this stage. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
absolutely.
We've seen a vast improvement against Leipzig and stuff like that, and the boys are all on track. And there's no point in endangering that against Saturday. And again, even Saturday being the sort of, the kind of flagship for the kick-off of the season and stuff like that. It's not the be-all and end-all. It's next Friday and Saturday when the business kicks off. That's when we need everyone absolutely humming.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on it, As I think it'll be fairly rotational, and whoever needs fitness and legs and minutes and all that kind of thing, that's who'll be out there. Mark's in here again as well. Lads, thoughts on Kane linked with Munich and Chelsea? Personally, I think he will be at Spurs this season. Next season could be another story. I don't think Harry Kane is going anywhere. I think Harry Kane is fully in on Project Spurs with Antonio Conte. I think he sees the development that the club is doing. I don't see a move happening, and I don't see Munich or Chelsea. I definitely don't see him going to Chelsea, and I don't see him going to Munich either. I think he'll sit at Spurs. He will land a trophy there. There's no doubt about it with Conte. And that's my thoughts on it. I think he'll finish his career there now at this stage, Darren.
I don't know if he'll finish it there, but I absolutely think he's bought into Project Conte 100%. I
Yeah.
think Bayern would love him. I think Bayern
Mm.
would look at him and see him as a ready-made replacement for Lewandowski and how he led the line and stuff like that. And I think they'd love him. But we also know Bayern have a little bit of a cap as to where they go financially. Like they do get deals done, but De Ligt went to Bayern for less than he would have gone to the Premier League for. Mane went to Bayern for less than he would have gone in the Premier League. I don't think Daniel Levy takes less than what Harry Kane is worth, which takes Bayern off the table for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, spot on. Morris is back again as well. Surprised at the changes upstairs at Chelsea, Czech especially. Yeah, we were. It's not that we were Darren. It's not that we were surprised at the changes. I think we were surprised at the magnitude and the quickness of all the changes. It's
Yeah,
we
the,
knew
the, the
change was going to
timing,
come.
the timing and the volume.
Yeah, it's the way the decks were cleared.
There was a
Um,
sweeping of the decks. You took the words right down to my mouth
yeah,
there. There was a
yeah,
sweeping of the decks, and everything that was attached, or everything that there was a sniff of the old regime off
mm.
was gone
And the
in
failings of
one
last
fell
season,
swoop.
has to be declared as well.
I don't know
Anything that
whether
could be pinned there.
some of the failings from last season have to go down to the manager. You know,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, but I think if you look at, say, take the Lukaku situation, that needed to land somewhere, and it looked like it landed. It looked like it landed in the upper echelons. You know what I mean? And that's how they tried to pin it, if you like.
that's very wrong though. Because I mean,
I
it's as much
100%
to
agree.
it's as much to do with how he was being played, and the kind of tune that Tuchel was getting out of that particular fiddle. You know, um, because we've seen it before under Antonio Conte. That fiddle plays a seriously different tune when you rub it the right way. So there has to be an issue there where somebody's got to look and go, didn't work at United. Okay, played under Solskjaer. He's a gym teacher, right? He went to Inter, worked perfectly. He's gone back to Chelsea, hasn't worked. Now you're looking at it going, is it Lukaku or is it who he's been under? If things work for him extremely well now at Inter again, I'm starting to throw Tuchel in with Solskjaer here and question what he was getting out of Lukaku and what Chelsea were getting out of him. Or maybe, like we said previously, because of the pace of the Premier League, because of the speed of it, because of the physicality of it, he wasn't able to be that bully that he wanted to be. He wasn't able to be the bully he was at Inter Milan. So it could also be the style of play and the pace of play in the league that helps things a little bit, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk some transfers anyway. West Ham agree a fee for Gianluca Scamacca. Um,
Yeah,
this is a great bit of business, isn't it?
it is, but, and I just have to say, but traditionally, guys that have been, top scorers in Italy are doing very, very well in Italy. It hasn't transferred very well to the Premier League. And I think that's the reason why some guys haven't maybe made the jump across the water. Because clubs have looked at this and gone, yes, it's worked in Serie A, but it hasn't necessarily worked when it's been brought over. The boy that went to Southampton, who got the 2 goals in the Carling Cup final against United, we beat them 3-2. Gardino, I know his name. Anyway, top goal scorer in the Liga till he came, or sorry, not in the Liga, in Serie A, like one of the top goal scorers, came to Southampton. It didn't work. It's not necessarily a slight on Southampton. They ended up buying other guys in to do the job that he was, there to do. I think a lot of guys in Italy, or a lot of strikers, it's different because of the pace. I definitely think he's got something, but I don't necessarily think, I wouldn't expect a huge season from him. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I don't know. I looked at he's been linked with a number of Premier League clubs and stuff like that, and I think
And heavily with PSG. He was linked heavily with PSG.
yeah, and I think going in there and West Ham as well. Be interesting to see under David Moyes as well. How that's going to fare out. Interesting. This man, who's had a very good start to his Arsenal career. People are raving about him, Mr. Versatility himself, Zinchenko. I do with a little interview there the other day. Zinchenko ticks all the boxes. I think we tend to agree, Darren, don't we?
Absolutely.
Our friend Tierney might be a little bit concerned about his position, even though this guy is a bit versatile, right?
I think he solved 2 major issues for Arsenal. I think he's the left back cover they wanted for Tierney, and I think they also know he will play in a midfield and do a job for them when Tierney is possibly available. I think I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised to see him and Tierney in the same side, with Tierney playing as the left back and him playing slightly ahead in the left of a midfield 2 or 3. But I think it's great business. I think, again, they're very, very clever in what they're doing. They're going into a club who's been very successful over the last number of years, like Manchester City. They're picking the bones of that City side that maybe Guardiola's gone, okay, these guys are just, getting to the end of it for me. And I'd like fresher faces in maybe. But these guys are very good footballers. They're seasoned pros, and they've got great habits from under Guardiola, like we talked about with Gabriel Jesus, which is that work rate and stuff like that. So it's a great signing for me.
Morris says he can't afford to be too versatile. He's left back for the season. Tierney will be left back in the hospital. Jesus, going in harsh tonight, Morris. Yeah, no. Do you know what I noticed about him as well? We spoke about earlier with Jesus as well. They're bringing in guys with that work rate, aren't they? That work rate and that energy to lift
And
that
it
situation
just
in there.
shows everyone around them. We had our level here, but the guys who have come in to our club because they couldn't do it at the clubs above us are here. So it raises the whole bar in training sessions, in games. Everyone's going to cover an extra couple of 100 steps, yards, kilometers, whatever it be, on the pitch to keep up with guys like this. Because don't forget, like, as footballers, they are unbelievably competitive, as much in their own clubs as they are when they're on the pitch and they're playing against other clubs. Like, you want to be the first choice left back, but you also want to be able to say to the guy who maybe not playing, covered 14k last week, when was the last time you did that? Because that's how lads bounce off each other, with that kind of banter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a really, really, it's going to benefit Arsenal massively this season, having guys like Zinchenko and Jesus in the squad.
How do you feel here's a question for you. How do you feel at the moment about does a portion of the Arsenal fan base out there at the moment that still aren't convinced about the Arteta Edu combination and all that, okay? And they're still not. I mean, I seen a section of it. Sorry about that. I seen a section of it. They were saying as well they were playing down the win against Chelsea. What's your feeling on that at the moment? I mean, I think they're doing a lot of really they're putting a lot of really good stuff in place and stuff like that. And I wouldn't necessarily be playing down that. I think it's pre-season, but I mean, it's a big win. It's a statement as well, isn't it?
Listen, it's football fans being fickle, and it's football fans not wanting, you know, to kind of pin their hopes on a flag just yet, in case it falls down again. I think it happens so much in the United fan base as well. It's actually a bit scary, where they want to undermine, and there's a narrative that things aren't going well and stuff like that. We've still got United fans day to day on the forum talking about how things aren't going well under Eric Ten Hag because certain players haven't signed, or because we haven't won a trophy. I'm like, we're in pre-season. Like, what do you want us to do? We need to, like, you can't click your fingers and the 38 game season be over and you know what you got at the end. Do you know what I mean? You've got to go through those highs, those lows, those ups, those downs, and you should enjoy that, because that's why we are. We're football fans. But like with Arsenal fans and with United fans, for me again, there's an air of that toxicity around the place that everything has to be questioned, everything has to be poked at, everything has to be don't like this, don't like this. Why don't you like it? If you don't like it, that's fine. Tell us what you don't like. Explain. Give us reasoning behind it, and don't just be like, he's shy, he can't do it, he's a tosser, this, or you know what I mean? Like, come at us with arguments here and tell us what's right, what you would fix. Don't just be that guy that's gonna, throw these off the cuff comments away, the drop of a hat because you didn't win a game, or because, we had to, again, last season on our United forum, we had to stop comments and posts during games because they were causing riots, whereas somebody would miss an effort early on and stuff like that, and boom, straight away, this guy's this guy's this. He scores two later on, and oh, that didn't age well, and then someone else is going back and go, well, he's still shiting on. You're like, lads, Jesus, this instant gratification has to be reined in a little bit,
Well, look, I'm not even a liver. I'm not even an Arsenal fan here, and I seen a lot to like about that game the other night. Morris was back. Notice how people are not moaning about Cronky now. They can't. They're spending lots.
Yeah,
I hope this manager gets success, but we are still short. You are still short, Morris. And listen, I could never understand that whole Cronky thing, because they've done nothing, only provide money. I think you're nearly one of the biggest spenders out there, aren't you, or something like that, or it's pretty close to it,
absolutely.
or something like that, as far as I know.
The
So
issue
there
with
hasn't been
Arsenal
a
hasn't
shortage of
been
money.
the spending; it's been
Mm,
how they've spent the money.
yeah,
The
and
money's
the
been there.
internal crap that's been going on.
Yeah, yeah, which
Yeah,
we're all waiting to see that next week and stuff like that,
mm,
just before the season kicks off. But definitely, like, this is massive. Again now, at United. Where's the Glazer protests?
mm,
Oh, they're not
yeah,
here right now? Oh, why not?
mm,
Oh, because we've just signed three players, and because we're more than likely looking down the barrel at three more. If you look at Frankie de Jong, a striker to replace Ronaldo, and provided you can get Wan-Bissaka out, another right back. Nobody's moaning.
Well, see,
Nobody's
they
having a
can't
little
complain
moan.
now. You wanted Eric Ten Hag, now you've got him. You've
Absolutely.
got him.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, but there's
don't come
always the
on.
guys. There's always the guys who sang for Ten Hag, and then he arrives and they go, "I didn't want them anyway." And you're like, "You didn't want them? Who did you want?" I wanted Conte because he's getting a tune now of Spurs. Oh, you wanted Conte,
No,
did you?
no, no,
Oh, okay.
no. You know, if it goes south, it'll be we should have waited for Poch. That's what you'll get then. That'll be the narrative, I'd say.
And like, that
Um,
is just so lazy. It's unbelievable.
it's like, you know what I mean. Um, this was an interesting one. Eric Boy.
Yeah,
Um, United apparently have set an asking price for him.
yeah.
And Jose Mourinho, his ex gaffer, I think he played for Jose, did he? I think.
Jose bought him.
Um, bought him. Yeah,
Jose signed him from Villarreal.
has expressed an interest in him. 10 million
Yeah.
apparently is the asking fee. I think he's one of these players. I think if you can figure out how to get him fit and how to get him to play games, that 10 million would be a snip, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah. But I think
That's the
that's a
conundrum, isn't
huge
it? I
if. That's
suppose.
the conundrum because that's the one thing he hasn't been able to do, for the last number of years at United. Now, listen, do I feel like him going to Italy would give him a much better opportunity to play 38 games in a season? Absolutely, absolutely. But I think in the Premier League, it doesn't work for me. He's not robust enough. He's really, really not. And we've spoken about it. The league doesn't necessarily suit everyone, be them good footballers or bad footballers. I don't necessarily, from a footballing point of view, have a huge problem with Boy. I think he's had some unbelievable games at United. I think he's had some poor ones as well. But I do think he's a good centre back. And he doesn't fit into the way Ten Hag necessarily wants to play the game right now. And I think he brings that air of uncertainty, And United right now need to cut a lot of those cords. The Phil Jones, the Axel Tuanzebe, the Eric Boy. That's 3 lads off the books. It's 3 lads off the wage structure. And it's 3 lads that you hopefully get a fee for, which all goes back into, regenerating the squad and stuff like that.
Yeah, Morris reckons he's better than Maguire too.
I think that's a stretch.
That probably is a stretch. I think
Yeah.
if both of them on their day were perfect and if they both play to a 9 out of 10, who would you put in your side? Is it Maguire?
Yeah, at
Do you think
times
Maguire gives you more?
I think he gives you something different. He certainly doesn't have the pace of a Boy, I would, personally speaking, I think he reads the game better than Boy does. I think Boy's decision making also at times is questionable. And I think a lot of times we've seen him as was with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. People are like, oh, Wan-Bissaka, he's great one-on-one and he's an unbelievable tackler. He's a very good tackler, but the reason he's such a good tackler is he's caught out of position so often that he has to be a good recovery tackler. I think with Maguire, my big issue with Maguire would be his lack of pace. And I think Ten Hag has already gone to resolve Maguire's second issue, which was Maguire's been playing on the left of our back four for the last number of years. Maguire this season, and already so, has played as the right centre back, and he will free up the spot on the left for the boy Martinez. I personally feel like unless Varane gets a number of games under his belt and can build himself up, because it seems to be with Varane, it's a couple of games, he's out, couple of games, he's out, couple of games, he's out. Martinez and Maguire could be our number one pair in this season. But it'll be with Maguire playing on the right and with Martinez playing on the left, which will be a change from the last since Maguire's got to the club.
Yeah, that looking from the outside and looking at Erik Ten Hag and his approach and his demeanour and looking at some of the stuff we've seen, training and stuff like that and all, he doesn't have a lot of time for inconsistency, does he?
No, absolutely
it
not.
doesn't. He doesn't look like that's a tolerance level that he has. Here's another one that came up during the week. It was the boy Anthony.
Yeah.
Liverpool and Tottenham are admirers of the boy. I took this with a pinch of salt. The bottom line is, if he leads Ajax, he's going to Man United. I don't have any.
I personally have 2 little spokes on this wheel. I don't think Ajax sell him this season, because I think with what's left Ajax so far, I don't think they can afford to let any more leave. The boy Tagliafico left. Obviously Martinez left. Sebastian Haller left. Ryan Gravenberch left. Like, there's 4 or 5 players have left Ajax.
A lot of quality as well. Quality.
And in previous years, Andre Onana, the goalkeeper as well. In previous years, you've lost De Ligt, De Jong, Van de Beek. So there's a lot of left that club in the last number of years. I personally don't see them selling anyone else. And if I do, I probably see a lot of teams being priced out of the market for this kid because Ajax think extremely highly of him. Um, I I heard something the other day that said that Ajax mentioned Richarlison and his price when speaking about Anthony because they said something along the lines of, well, if Richarlison went for 60 something million, that would be the bottom rung of the ladder for this kid Anthony.
Yeah,
So and then that price a lot of teams out of that, you know.
yeah, absolutely. Um, here's one that we're gonna get into, and we're gonna have a little bit of debate on. Should be interesting, especially in the chat. This man who generates a lot of hate and also a lot of love, and a lot of indifferent opinion, let's say. Signed for Forest there during the week, wages 180,000. I dug a little deeper into this, and people were losing their mind over this 180,000. That
Yeah,
180,000, as far as I can see, and correct me if I'm wrong,
yeah.
is 100,000, and there's like 80,000 in weekly add-ons or something like that.
I
It's not a
think it.
straight up
Yeah,
180,000.
absolutely not 180. You're
And
100% right. There
and
is
I
a
also
there
and
is
I
a
also
level.
noticed, yeah, go on,
There is a level that there's a guarantee. There's a
yeah,
downside. I think the downside, to talk about from in wrestling terms, I think the downside is about 90 to 100 grand a week.
yeah,
And I think the upside, depending on performances, win bonus, goal bonus, all of this,
yeah,
could get you to somewhere near that. Now, listen, the one thing I will say in that sense is if he's going in at, let's say he's just on 90 grand a week, he's going in at 90 and he's looking at all these bonuses. The kid is backing himself to a certain degree.
yeah,
And he's saying, I'll take the 90, but I want this leveraged to the way that if I do perform the way I can and maybe the way I did at West Ham, that 100 that 90 grand a week is doubled. And maybe that's where Forrest went, well, if we were getting what you were getting now at West Ham, if we get what West Ham got out of you, we'll take that all day long and we'll give you 180
mm.
for it. Because that's the
Now I've
guarantee, not
now
the
I've
downside.
also learned as well is there's a huge bonus waiting for him as well at the end of the season if he
Yeah.
keeps Forest in the Premier League, which will be massive for Nottingham Forest as well. And if you think about
Huge.
when he went
Although,
into,
Forest have made an awful lot of signings. Like an
yeah,
awful lot of signings at this
now
stage. They're 10 or 11 deep.
this is the point that I wanted to make when people were coming in, and you got the wave of hate on this. Um, what I looked into was, and it's very very simple. Um, I looked at if he keeps Forest in the division,
Yeah.
that's absolutely massive for him. And as you said, if the contract is weighted towards that performance,
Yeah.
but the level of hate was absolutely massive. In terms of, but what I did look at as well is so many of these clubs come up out of the championship, and it's like that springboard effect. We've seen it with Norwich. They come up, get the Premier League money, don't spend it, go back down, come up,
Yeah.
get the Premier League money, springboard, go back down. I thought it was really, really encouraging the other day to see a team coming up, rolling the dice, to show intent, to want to be competitive and stay in the division. I thought from that point of view, I thought it was brave. I thought it was encouraging. And I thought it was really, really nice to see. While people were pouring this lava of hate on top of what was put out there before even reading to see what the deal actually was and understanding it. And I just
Yeah.
want, what's
No,
your thoughts on that?
you're 100% right. Because, and I would say that's something that, now listen, again, I don't have a horse in the race here, but that's something that would have frustrated me massively over the last number of years with certain sides. And Norwich were one of them. They brought in guys, Les Malou, they brought guys in, but they didn't bring the level of quality in they needed it. Now, yes, Norwich is a more difficult sell than Nottingham Forest,
Yeah,
because I think Forest have that name behind them, Forest are the first English team to win
History,
a
lineage.
European Cup, and they've that history and they've that lineage. And I think that's important. They have a huge fan base, Forest, huge fan base, and a great fan base, a fan base that really, really gets behind their team and gets that city ground rocking and stuff like that, But I think I do like what you're saying, and I think it's a great point. I think I want to see teams go out and make these kind of signings in an attempt, because they know if he keeps us in the league, he's worth his weight in gold.
Yep.
Because then you get the next step on the ladder for the building. You get the next level, and you get because listen, if I go to sign someone next season and I'm Forest and I'm still in that league, they look at me, they go, yeah, they hung on last year, which means they've something about them. If they're coming in this year, there's a lot of players will go, oh, don't know, their first year back in the Premier League, what's it going to be like? Maybe I'll head somewhere else. But I think this is great from Forest, and they are rolling the dice to a degree. We don't want to see them necessarily be, risky with business and stuff like that, but we do want to see them go out and try and stay in the league and try and make an impact.
Yeah. And what I would say to people, I seen a Premier League predictor there the other day.
Yeah.
Have a guess where Forest came out in that Premier League predictor.
Ooh.
Or tell me first of all, tell me where you would put them. I mean, we'll obviously do ours on one of the shows. But if you were going to pitch them somewhere, where are you going to pitch them? And I'll tell you where they came out.
Listen, I have no doubt this season will be a struggle for them. Now, I do think they have a lot of quality. Obviously, Dean Henderson's gone in, Lingard's gone in, the boy Neco Williams has gone in, and they've kept the lad Brennan Johnson and stuff like that. There's some good footballers there. They've done really well under Cooper. And there's another couple of signings gone in and stuff. I think the boy Mangala is the latest one to be linked. So there's a lot of good stuff happening at Forest. I think they'll be involved in the shake-up for relegation, but I'll give them 15th. I'll give them 15th. I think they'll stay up.
15th?
Yeah.
Guess where they came out on the predictor?
With you asking that question that way, it sounds like they came in a bit higher up the league table.
12th.
Yeah.
12th.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to see Nottingham Forest back in the Premier League. I love
absolutely.
their history. And it should be an absolute privilege for players to put that jersey on with the history and the lineage of the club. And it should be a weight that those players don't carry too lightly.
And
fantastic fan base. Great
and don't
ground.
forget they were two of the better looking jerseys as well, by the way.
100%.
Two fabulous looking jerseys.
Happiness Philip in the comments. Philip, I wish I was as happiness as you. I'm feeling under the weather tonight. Terrible. Please, is Barcelona really selling Frankie de Jong? Oh, what do we say to that, Darren? What's your response? I know we're going to get into talking about Man United shortly, but
in a word, yes, they are. I don't think you play him at centre back in the last two games. You're not trying to shove the guy out the door. There's an offer been made apparently to Frankie already, from Barcelona to sort out this wage issue.
That offer was doubled. That offer was doubled yesterday, by the way.
Well, no, I don't know if it was doubled yesterday, because the first offer was around about half of what was due. It was 7 million, which was due with a 17.
No. Apparently it's come out now. The first offer was 3.5, and they came back and doubled it to 7.
I heard the first offer was 7.
No, it was 3.5 apparently today. I read it was 3.5, and they doubled it to 7.
I think Barcelona are they understand it's inevitable. This is going to happen. They need the space in their salary and stuff like that to obviously get the likes of Lewandowski and Rafinha on the registration for La Liga. And apparently, again, I hear if De Jong doesn't go on the wages he's on, neither of the two boys can be registered. I read that when Arnold and Murta went over, Barca were looking for them to pay part of the wage. And the lad said, absolutely not. But they said what we spoke about, which was we'll guarantee you the first part of the add-ons. So the
Mm.
end total doesn't change. It was 65 and there was 20 add-ons. We'll make it 75 with 10 add-ons. So that the deal
But they were expecting that 10 would go to Frankie to sort shit out.
United were. But
Yeah,
apparently the money has been recycled into the let's get
not
as
a,
many players in the door fund as
yeah,
possible.
not a chance. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Um,
I think it's still gonna happen.
can you imagine the 31st of August when we're doing our show?
Yeah.
Or the 1st of September? It's the 31st of August, is it, or the 1st of September?
It's the first
It's
September, I
one.
think.
It's 1st September, and this hasn't been sorted. And you're going to have the vulture swirling. Who's going to pick up Rafinha or Lewandowski or whatever if this doesn't get resolved and stuff like that? This is going to be crazy. As far as I'm concerned, Barcelona should be dragged over the coals, and someone should be sending Price Waterhouse Coopers in there to do a full audit on them and find out
Absolutely.
what their financial practices are. And
Yeah.
they should be absolutely battered down to the second or third tier in Spain and
Yeah.
made a lesson of and an example of. This is absolutely disgusting. This has to be well in the breach of any labour laws. As you said already in describing Frankie de Jong, this kid is a hostage at the moment. It's
Yeah.
nothing short of that, and it's disgusting. And to see that kid the other day have to play at the back is an absolute disgrace. And even the likes of
And
Xavi
then
should have a look at himself.
and to hear Xavi afterwards say,
How great
well,
he is.
how great he is, and we like him from that position. And you're going,
Mm.
do you? Yeah. Well, you've just signed Christensen. You've got the boy around you. You've got Jules Koundé possibly coming in the door. You're still looking at Azpilicueta and Marcus Alonso. You've got Gerard Piqué, and you want to play Frankie de Jong as a centre back. Lads, have some respect for the kid, will you?
Yeah, absolutely. Morris came back. Good ambition by Forrest. Spot on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. Cannot commend them enough. Mark is in the comments. Welcome, Mark. Evening, men. Barcelona are joke paying all this money for new players when they owe existing players money. They are taking the piss. I don't know why anyone would want to go to the club. Absolutely, Mark. And listen, we don't even know if they're paying for these players at the moment. They seem to be agreeing to deals.
And you know
Whether they're
what?
paying for them or not is
I
another
gotta
thing.
say, Mark hit the nail on the head there. Like, that's a tough sell right now. How do Barca convince Lewandowski come to us? Like, looking at everything that's gone on, even if you stretch back to last summer with Messi and knowing the way things were going, that he had to be taken off the books because of, and watching the way Aguero come in and him not being able to be registered. Why wouldn't Lewandowski look at that and go, that's where I'm going to go? Because he told Bayern, I go nowhere other than Barcelona. So, I mean, like,
Because,
what kind
because
of
there's
shite are they peddling?
because there's obviously a circle in there that don't get treated like this Frankie de Jong situation. I mean, Robert Lewandowski has not left Bayern Munich to go to Barcelona to be told, like, we're going to defer your wages out to here and do all this kind of thing. He's not about that at this stage in his career and stuff like that. So there's obviously a circle in there that don't get treated that way. And there's obviously a circle in there that have to get treated that way. Like not everyone at Barcelona is going to end up on 150 grand a week so that they survive. You know what I mean? It doesn't work that way. And I suppose, Darren, the lure of the jersey as well and the club. I know the history and stuff that now. I know a lot of stuff is coming out at the moment and it's shining it in a really bad light and stuff like that. But you do have
Yeah.
to go back and look at some of the other stuff that's there in the history of that jersey. Like, I suppose for Lewandowski it's kind of different, but for Rafinha maybe not. Because obviously being Brazilian there and the amount of Brazilians they've had there and the history
I
and
mean,
all
like,
that kind of stuff.
the jersey for me is a serious selling point. Like, if I'm if I'm a United fan, like I am, and I get the opportunity to go to United, I go in a heartbeat.
Mm,
There's nothing personally that would get me out of United, right? But there are a couple of jerseys which would get me to take a second look, and Barca are one of them, and we know
mm.
they are, you know. But I still think they've, they're doing they're doing football a disservice at this stage with their carry on. And I think Morris's hit the nail on the head with the next comment, which says Barcelona making PSG look like a legitimate business at this stage, and that is scary. That's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I just, it's like the whole world of football is pandering to Barcelona at the moment. Like they're holding all the aces at this table. Where in actual fact, they're broke as a convict and they ain't got a chip to throw in to see your bid. You know what I mean? It's crazy and it's just so weird. Um, yeah, Morris, spot on. Del Boy in the comments, trouble. What's the crack, Del Boy? How are you? Looking forward to being on your show on Thursday. I hope I'm going to feel a lot better for that than what I'm feeling right now, but great to have you on board. Um, Del Boy, give us your thoughts. We were on it earlier. Give us your thoughts quickly, what you thought of the match the other night against Chelsea and stuff like that. You must have been somewhat pleased with what you're saying and stuff like that. So give us an idea in the comments there if you can. Mark is also back as well. It's on about Leeds. Did Leeds put the penalty? They did put a penalty on it. It's 20 million. But the problem for that, Mark, is if they ain't got a washer to pay out, penalising them with another 20 million if they can't pay the original money is kind of irrelevant because you're not going to get to that end game anyway. Or they'll draw it out like a mortgage on a house. You won't see a washer of it. It'll be over 20 years or something like that. You wouldn't even feel it as a football club. So yeah, you can put all monetary penalties on Barcelona are kind of irrelevant in this kind of circle at the moment when you think about it. But what's your thoughts on that, Darren? It's kind of irrelevant, isn't it? The penalty.
It is, but again, it just sours the whole deal, doesn't it? That Leeds feel like, now this is Leeds, by the way,
Yeah,
who, under Peter Ridsdale were suspect to say the least, right? And Leeds have decided now we need to whack this into the Rafinha deal just in case we get a little bit burned here. That says all you need to know about Barcelona right now.
and imagine that like we're talking about this, and we're not talking like we're not talking about like an Italian club that's been involved in some illegal stuff or something like that. Or, you know what I mean? We're
No.
talking about the great Barcelona. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
crazy to think about the way this is evolving. Absolute madness. Mark's back again as well. I feel the league are giving them a pass, and well, because they are worried the Premier League are taking all the best players. The Premier League are clearly not taking all the best players. If you look at what the moves are happening at the moment, they are getting in some very good talent at the moment, stuff like that. But I mean, if you just take Barcelona as an example, Lewandowski, Rafinha, Koundé potentially, they brought in some really really good players and stuff like that. So
Barcelona
um,
are getting a pass from La Liga, because they've just lost Messi and Ronaldo in the last couple of seasons. And the worry is, they obviously thought there was an issue or there was an opportunity to get Haaland in at Real Madrid. Didn't happen. They thought Kylian Mbappe was going into Real Madrid. Didn't happen again. Barcelona have been given this pass by the league and told you do whatever you have to do to bring guys in the door. I
mm,
would I wouldn't be shocked if La Liga made the deal. Get Lewandowski in and we'll allow a few things to slide. But if you don't get him in, we can't allow it. I'd say that's where the deal was sweetened for Barca. So Barca went out and promised Lewandowski the sun, the moon, the stars, knowing we can get you on this registration book on the basis that you come and you save the day and keep the TV interest in La Liga somewhat relevant.
yeah, I mean Barcelona and Real Madrid must carry a huge weight in terms of that funding and stuff like that.
Massive,
And
massive.
and for that to go skew-ways and end up in punishment that could potentially lead to relegation or whatever it is, the impact that would have on La Liga would be absolutely massive. Del Boy's back in the comments. He said, "Yeah, he did watch the match the other night. Yeah, I'm happy with Arsenal result. He played well, but it's only pre-season. Arteta out. Del, I think we're 12 days out. We're 12 days out from the start of the season. You're still looking at players. I thought you were absolutely streets ahead of Chelsea. I thought the way you played. I thought the energy. I tell you now, I was very 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 impressed. Um,
The
and
the only thing I want to No, I'm certainly not agreeing with Dell because I don't feel like that at all. Um, I feel I feel like Arteta's been building this squad for a couple of years now, and I feel like he's, he warrants the time. I think, to have a go at Arsenal with this squad, which is a lot more like his, with the likes of a Jesus and Zinchenko's and guy like this, that he's got in
It's
over the
this
last few
season, isn't
seasons.
it? It's this season, isn't it?
I
It's this
think
season.
so. Yeah, I do. But
Yeah.
the only thing I will say is, and I suppose this is where Dell's getting at it. There's there's a little thing in Arsenal also, which in pre-season or in certain cup games, they have that ability to go out and do things and beat teams and look very, very good. But we know for Arteta that this is all your chips on the table for the Premier League. This is top four. This is what he has to deliver. He must deliver top four this season. And I think that's where Arsenal feel pressure, in the league. And I feel that's where at times you don't get the free flowing Arsenal football that they can play in different games and in different competitions. And I also feel like that's why maybe last season at times, they created chances, but they weren't able to take the chances. And yes, a part of it was down to guys missing opportunities, but I feel like it was the weight of getting us up that table. And it happens in lots of sports. Like we've a guy, I won't mention his name, in the tennis club. And if you stood at the side of his court and watched him play tennis, you'd go, holy shit, this guy's amazing, right? Looks amazing, hits the ball really well, moves the whole thing. When we put him in as a club into a competitive situation, it was like someone just pressing a little button on the back of his head. He couldn't do it.
Pressure.
Pressure. He couldn't do it. He was so poor at it. He took himself out, and he now hasn't played competitive tennis for the club for about 4 years because he couldn't deal with that pressure. Now, we're only a poxy little tennis club in County Meath, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
We're
but it's
not.
all relevant. It's all relevant. It's all
That's my
relevant.
point. That's my point. But I'm
Yeah.
saying, I would be trying to dumb thing down in my head if I was playing a league match. I'd be going, this is completely irrelevant. Playing a little game here, whatever it be. Whereas, if I was getting 150 bags a week for Arsenal, and there's 50,000 people in that stadium who want to rip me a new one, if I don't manage to put the ball in the back of the net, that's pressure. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
But you also had a lot of youth there last season who
yeah,
probably it was nearly their first time to experience that top four
uh-huh.
race, and they
Yeah,
will have learned from that experience going into this season.
massively.
Um, and I just think I'm expecting big things from Arsenal this season. I have to say. Now
Just
it
not as big as
depends
Man
on.
United.
Probably not. No. Morris is back in again. He says, Spanish government have been involved financially for years with Madrid and Barca. Let's not forget the World Cup is in Qatar this year. Murky
Yeah,
world upstairs in the game. Absolutely, 100%.
yeah,
Marcus back in. I stayed up and watched the Arsenal game. We were brilliant. I know it's pre-season, but we look sharp, fit, and ready for the first game. Arteta in,
yeah,
100%. I'd rather go out and win
absolutely.
4-0. Okay, you only pick, like, it's a Florida Cup, it's a trophy, it's one in the cabinets, and doesn't mean that. But at the end of the day, I'd rather win 4-0 than lose 4-0.
The cup thing makes no difference at all. But the
No.
4-0 win is a 4-0 win. And you
Mm,
know it. You would have felt an awful lot better against us had the tide have been 4-0 for you guys than it was 4-0 for us. And, and
absolutely.
and there is an area of guys need to get game time and put miles in the legs and all. And I get that. But you still want to be building confidence. That's a huge, huge confidence builder for Arsenal to go out and to dominate Chelsea the way they did.
Well, look at the difference it made on your pre-season when you went out and beat us 4-0. You know what I mean? Imagine we had went out and thumped you 5-0. People would have been, oh, Ten Hag, this, that, and the other, blah, blah,
Absolutely.
blah. You know what I mean?
100%.
So,
Yeah,
look, winning breeds winning. Winning, is a habit.
a habit.
It's
Yeah, that's
confidence and
it.
stuff like that. And those boys look like they're doing really, really well at the moment. And good luck to them. And I hope Arsenal do really, really well. I do love Arsenal as a football club. I do like them and stuff like that. One little quick one before we get on to United. Roberto Firmino was linked with Juventus, but Liverpool have played it down today, saying he's not going anywhere. My guess is if the right offer comes in from Juve, I'd say he will go. He'll be looking for playing time heading into the World Cup, and he has fallen down the pecking order somewhat at Liverpool. So I might expect him to go if the right offer came in. What you're thinking?
I kind of mentioned this earlier on in the summer. I
Mm.
didn't see Bobby hanging around too much longer, if I'm honest. You
Yeah.
know, it's you've got Salah, you've got Nunez, you've got Diaz, you've got Jota, you've got Harvey Elliott, you've got the boy Carvalho. Um, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. I don't necessarily think Bobby will fit into a lot of the plans, and I don't think at his age he wants to be a bit part player. You know, I think he wants a certain amount of game time, which is going to guarantee him a spot in that Brazilian team, come Qatar in November and December.
Absolutely.
Just before you go on further,
Yeah.
I just checked my phone there for a second, and the
Yeah.
reason I checked my phone is, and we were discussing the whole confidence thing,
Mm.
and confidence, and it's a habit. Winning is a habit.
Yeah.
And I thought back, and somebody I heard speak about it recently was the girl Serena Wiegman, who's the England women's manager.
Yeah.
And when they got through, they qualified through the group after the first two games, and
Mm.
everybody expected them to make wholesale changes.
Yeah.
She put the same team out in the third game as the first and the second game, and they were
Yeah.
like, "Why would you do that?" And she was like, "Well, we don't want to lose the run of
Continuity.
ourselves, the continuity. We want
Continuity.
to keep building. We want to keep building." And in my head, I went, "I'm pretty sure England are playing tonight." I've just
Yeah.
checked. 80 minutes gone in the semi-final against Sweden, who are heavily tipped. England are 4-0 up in the semis. So
Football's coming home.
England will be in the women's European Cup final in the
Mm.
next couple of weeks. I think it kicks off the night before the Premier League. Is that right? Am I right in
I
saying
think it
that?
is. Yeah.
I
Well,
think it's
it'll be the
next
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
I
So
think so.
we'll have
Yeah,
that to look forward to, and we'll also have the Amazon documentary
yeah.
that same night
But
as well.
she mentioned that as well, and she was like, because every man and their dog was like, "Oh, she's gonna make wholesale changes, give guys games, build up." She was like, "No, I put the same
Mm.
team out because we want to keep building and building and building and getting better." And now
Mm.
it looks a very, very clever move. They beat Northern Ireland that night. They beat Spain in a come behind win last week 2-1, and obviously now they're 4-0 up against Sweden, and they'll go to the final. You know.
Most top managers would often say, "Never change a winning side. Never change a winning side."
Yeah.
Mark is back again. Partey is key to this team. We have no replacement for him. Absolutely, 100%, Mark. Huge. Del Boy is back again. Good man, Del. No jokes aside, I've been happy with pre-season results. It's Arteta's squad now. He has to deliver this season. If not, he needs to move on. In the last two seasons, he has spent nearly 400 million.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I think we all agree on that. This is his year now. He has to deliver. It is his team now. No more messing around. Morris is
I
back as
feel
well.
a little bit sorry for Arteta in a sense. I know he spent all that money. I think at times we've looked at Arsenal; they've been phenomenal.
Mm.
I just think when you look at success for Arsenal right now, personally speaking, I would say is top four, right? So to contend with for that top four, he's got City and Liverpool, who are two of the best sides in Premier League history,
Yeah.
right? You've got the best Spurs side, probably in Premier League history, right? As well,
Yeah. Mm.
the best Spurs version, and then you've still got United and Chelsea in the mix to fight Arsenal for that fourth spot. You know, so
Yeah.
and it wouldn't take much for them to finish, fifth or sixth, and have had again a really good season, but just not gotten over the line in say some of the bigger games.
It's going to be a dogfight, isn't it? It's going to be a dogfight, and it's going to be so tight. I think. I think that whole top four this season is going to be really, really tight because I think if you've Man City and Liverpool, but I think Spurs are going to have a conversation in this as well. And I
Absolutely.
think in that fourth spot as well, as you said, anyone from three, is it? Anyone from four? Anyone from three?
Certainly from United, Arsenal, and Chelsea.
Arsenal, Chelsea,
And
yeah,
I mean, if
absolutely.
any of the other sides got the ball rolling, i.e., a Newcastle or a Villa, or the only one I would possibly throw in is a Leicester. If any of those sides got the ball rolling, they could get involved in the conversation as well.
Mm. I was actually about to say that. I don't think top four alone keeps him in the job. I think it has to be top four on some sort of excuse me, and a domestic trophy. I think he has to land like a cup or an
I
FA
think
Cup.
that's harsh. Just on the basis that, again, you've got Liverpool,
Mm,
Chelsea, Spurs, City, United, all vying for, those competitions as well.
mm,
I think
yeah,
that's so difficult for Arteta. As an Arsenal fan right now, I think if he delivered me top four in Champions League football, I would say job done for now, more to do. It wouldn't necessarily hinge on a trophy for me, because I think if he won a Carabao Cup, would it be a huge deal? It's a Carabao Cup. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
if they won the
mm,
Carabao Cup and finished seventh, would Arsenal fans be happy? Highly
yeah.
unlikely.
Well,
And
that's
so
Morris. Let's ask Derek in the chat. Derek, Dell, what do you think? What's acceptable this season?
Morris would rather
Morris
a trophy than a top four
Morris would
spot.
rather a trophy than a top four spot.
Wow. Oh,
Is that
whoa,
legit,
Morris.
Morris? Is that antagonising? Is
Nah,
that you drawing people
he
out
has
there?
to
Is
be
that?
being a heel there. You have
I
got.
actually, I'm wrong here. Define trophy. What are you talking about here as a trophy? Are you talking to Europa
Well, they
League
ain't
here?
playing the Champions League for a start, so
No, but
it's
they're
not
playing
that.
Europa League, which is a pathway into the Champions League. So are we talking Europa League here? If we're talking Europa League,
Possibly. But
let
you know
us
what?
know.
That Europa League is so hard to win because you get the kickback from the Champions League teams as well.
As we spoke about it only a few weeks ago.
It's so difficult. FA or Europa? Jesus, Morris, I tell you what, fair
Definitely
play to
not
you, man.
FA Cup. Definitely not FA Cup. I'm not
Wow.
surrendering. I love the FA Cup. I'm not surrendering a top four spot for the FA Cup.
No, not even
No,
slightly.
not
Sorry,
even
Morris.
in your Nelly. Not with the financial rewards of it and everything else, and how it can propel you onto that next level. Not a chance. No way. If I take
And,
FA
and,
Cup out
and
of that Morris
attract
quick.
and attract the kind of players that you can attract. And this carries us on to our friend in the screen in the picture here, yeah?
Yeah. We'll see if Del Boy comes back on and lets us know what he's thinking is kind of acceptable for for Arteta to stay in the job. Let's have a quick talk about this. Ronaldo returned today.
Yeah.
For I know in our chat, Greg was giving me a hard time saying, "No, it's just a normal press thing and stuff like that and all," and that I'm obsessed with United. But look, I run a football podcast. What can I do with you? Um, it was, as far as I was concerned, it looked to me like it was crunch talks. Fergie was rolled in. Brian Robson, I think, was there. Arnold was there. Everyone was there. It was like a sort of a little shindig, get together board meeting to try and convince this man to stay. What was your thoughts on it? I believe today, I looked into it this evening, and this evening apparently they had left it at the moment that it's at an impasse, but he had left them with no um, idea, but that he actually wants to leave. That's where it's at the moment, from what I read. Have you seen anything on this, or can you update us further on it? And let us know your thoughts on him either staying or your thoughts on him going, or where is it at, do you think?
Yeah, so I would be like you. And I know kind of you were able to reel Greg in this morning in the comments and stuff like that in our WhatsApp. There's no way Ferguson is there today unless Ronaldo's coming back and there's crunch talks happening. Absolutely no way. This was United's equivalent to the G8 summit in Carrington today. You had Ten Hag,
100%.
you had Arnold, you had Murta, you had Robson, you had
All the
Ferguson,
heavy hitters.
you had everybody
George
attached to
George
them.
George Mendes
George
was there.
Mendes was in the
They were all
car with
there.
him. That
Yeah.
that all happened for a reason. The United lads were putting a front together, and they weren't going to make anyone be allowed look weak, so that you could put it at his door and say, well, he
Mm,
didn't stay because of Ten Hag, or he didn't stay because of Morta, or he didn't stay because of. They all went
mm,
in there together for my money, and they went, listen, you're not going anywhere. Your contract is here. You're not going anywhere. This is how it's going to be. Now, from what I believe, and I'm pretty sure we spoke about this on Thursday, and this has since been put out there by a couple of journalists, that again, United are looking to activate the extra year in Ronaldo's clause. And it was a 2-year deal with the option of a third. Now, apparently, they're trying to activate the third year, but they're going to allow him to leave on loan, is what I believe. Now, if that's true, that's mental. That is absolutely mental. That they're going
Just
to reward
just
him
say
with
that
an
say
extra
that to me
year.
again.
So last year was his first year of his deal.
Yeah.
This year coming is his second year. When he
And next year they
signed,
have an option.
United have the option to extend.
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
Ronaldo, it's with
Yeah.
United. United are trying to exercise the option,
Mm-hmm.
which means they have him for next season, and
Yeah.
they're willing to allow him to leave on loan this season, provided they get the right kind of a fee and they get someone to replace him.
So the thinking is he goes out on loan this season. He goes to play in the Champions League and gets what he wants. Hopefully
Yes.
United make top four or get the
Yes,
Champions League, and he comes back and finishes out playing Champions League under Ten Hag for Man United. Is that the
absolutely.
plan? That's the
That's
plan.
apparently what's been put out there. Now, if you're asking me,
How does that sit with you as a fan?
that's mental. Absolutely mental. You know, like we know the type of freight this guy cost you on a balance sheet.
Yeah.
He costs you big bucks, and yes, he draws great attention to the club, and yes, he's a United legend and his legacy and stuff like that. But if he doesn't want to be at the club, off you go. And I understand he's saying it's not that I don't want to be at the club, it's that I want to be involved in the Champions League. And I get it. I completely get it. But when you sign up to play United, you sign up to play United. You don't sign to play up United in certain games, certain competitions, certain circumstances. You sign up to play. If it's Stoke on a wet, pissy Tuesday night, you rock up, bring the gear, and you be the best version of yourself possible. Don't only want to get involved when it's Barcelona or Real away in the Bernabeu or the Camp Nou, or do you know what I mean? That's
Mm.
nuts. For my money, if he leaves, he shouldn't come back.
Okay. I suppose there's a number of issues related to that. I suppose one of the big issues from a financial point of view, the club, he's probably heavily involved in the negotiations on the branding and the deals and stuff like that, I would imagine. He carries a lot of weight, I'd say, when those deals are being done. His brand Ronaldo is huge.
Yeah.
And there might be that impact that they're having to kind of figure out and stuff like that. Morris is saying, look, there's no doubt about this. No player is bigger than any club. We have seen it over the years.
Yeah.
I think you can say that, Morris. But I think sometimes you'll see that there is exceptions to the rule. And I don't mean in terms of player power. And I don't mean in terms of holding clubs over a barrel and all that kind of stuff. There are players out there sometimes that do transcend their clubs, but still act in a kind of a professional way of doing things the right way. But we know that they're fundamentally huge and big, and sometimes their brand outgrows the club somewhat. Um, and like Ronaldo was one of these guys. He's a global brand. I think what he's trying to do here is, I think he's trying to protect his legacy and protect his brand. He's never played in the Europa League. Apparently, he doesn't have a desire to play in it. He wants to play in the Champions League. He knows he only has, what's he got left in him? 2-3 seasons maybe at an
In Champions
acceptable
League,
level.
in the
Yeah,
Champions League, for me personally, 2 tops.
yeah. So like, so from his point of view, if you're sitting in his shorts, how do you feel about that as opposed to being a fan looking in through the window, say?
Uncomfortable because his shorts are a damn size smaller than mine. But like I completely not that I understand it. I don't understand it. I think it's difficult to understand when you've seen, the likes of Gianluigi Buffon be relegated to Serie B with Juventus and say, I ain't going fucking anywhere. This is my club. And if anyone's going to get them back where they belong, it's going to be me, And I think that's where, United fans would like to see Ronaldo's loyalty. And I think where, United would have taken a big punt on Ronaldo when he was coming from Sporting and stuff like that, It was a big outlay. It was, 12.5, 13 million there. And the kid that showed up with the little blondie squiggles and the coloured check jumper and stuff like that, and they showed an awful lot of faith in him. And even at a time when his form wasn't great at United and he was being described as a one-trick pony and as a guy that was going to go nowhere, and he was having cold water poured over him and stuff like that for quite a lot of time. Like, United stuck by him, and United built brand Ronaldo to be as big as brand Ronaldo built it itself to be, because don't tell me for 1 minute if he does all of that at Sporting, he's the superstar he is. He does it because he's a superstar at one of the biggest clubs in the world at United. And now it's when I'd like him to turn around and say, you know what? You showed a little faith in me. It's time for me to show a little faith in you.
Yeah. I suppose the example that you gave there with Buffon is Buffon would have accepted some of the responsibility for what happened there at the time. And he would have felt a kind of a loyalty, to try and fix that wrong. You know what I mean? Whereas if you look at the situation at United and the issues that are there, I don't think Ronaldo associates them with, he wasn't like it. I suppose if he had been there the last 5 or 6 years,
he was there last year.
He
had an opportunity last year to make sure we were involved in the shake-up for Champions League.
Yeah, but I don't know.
The problem with Ronaldo is he wants to look in everyone else's back garden before he's willing to look in his fucking own. That's Ronaldo's problem.
Well, hang on. I mean, if you look at what he posted up there for a team that was in kind of disarray and stuff like that, I mean, he posted some decent numbers and stuff like that. Now, at times in the season, I accept he went missing and stuff like that. There's no doubt about that.
A passenger.
Yeah, but also he was a passenger surrounded by 10 other passengers at time between him. So let's be honest, between himself and De Gea here.
But also, where was the leader in the dressing room? Where was the Ronaldo that was going to take the band and drag the guys along with him and say, we're playing for one of the biggest football clubs in the world. Everyone needs to step it the fuck up here. Do you know what I mean? Because maybe when Ralph Rangnick said it, it didn't carry enough weight. When he says it, it carries weight.
Well, we don't know that wasn't said, because remember, a lot of groups got together and different groups got together, and we know that the locker room was split, the dressing room was split all over the place and stuff like that. So it's a difficult example, and look,
I think you're being very, very kind to him. I think you're being very kind to him.
We spoke before. If it wasn't for him and De Gea, where would United have been last season? 12th.
I'm between where they finished and 12th. What's the big difference?
Well, the big difference is you have European football, you have Europa League football, so you have an extra opportunity.
Absolutely pointless if we don't have Champions League. Pointless.
But it's not pointless.
It's more of a hindrance than a help.
No, it's not, because from this point of view, I would think you know how difficult the top 4 battle is going to be. So there's no guarantee of top 4. So you know your other pathway to the Champions League is winning the Europa League. So it's not necessarily the case.
I've got to be honest. No matter who I am or what club I am, if you offer me a full season with no European football to get the top 4 space, or you offer me a full season with Europa League football as an option to get the Champions League spot, I take no European football every day and twice on a Sunday.
Yeah, but you're not comparing like you're talking about it as an option as opposed to being a win.
So that's my point. If we finished in 12th, we wouldn't have this hindrance of Europa League football, and maybe he wouldn't be playing in any European competition. He'd go, I've only got the league. Fuck it, let's keep rolling.
Yes, but if you finish down in 12th, you may not have landed Eric Ten Hag. You may not be landing the players that you're landing now either. So
You're
you
not
have to
landing
allow for that
any
as
of the
well.
players we landed so far because we're playing Europa League. None of them.
No, not because of
No.
Europa League, but your position and the way you've positioned yourself to build on some of the stuff that you've done
We
has
landed them
allowed
because
you
we're
to
Man
bring some of
United
them
and we
in.
pay dollar. Nothing to do with finishing sixth. Absolutely nothing.
I don't know. A lot of the players you've gotten in because that man's in the seat now, isn't it? Do you
Yes,
not
but
think
and
so?
he still would have been in the seat if he finished sixth, 12th, 10th. Doesn't matter. He
It
was
mightn't have
always going
looked
to
as
United.
it mightn't have looked as attractive to him.
It's Man United. It's Man United.
It's
Let's be
12th.
honest here. It does make a blowing bit of difference. And probably if he finishes 12th, he goes, you know what? Way less expectations here. I finished these in sixth, the job's a good one, and I get the next year. Whereas Will finished in sixth last year, he now says, I have to finish top four because otherwise it's a failure.
David's after arriving. How's it going, David? Evening, boys. How are we tonight? Dazzler's good. I'm still under the weather, but I'm here.
Yeah.
Morris is back again. Maguire is your leader. There lies a problem. David is back. Sorry, Dazzler. Let's be fair. There were so many games where he was a passenger because the ball came nowhere near him. The team failed him at times this season, and he failed at being a leader.
He did fail at being
So
a
there's
leader.
a
Absolutely.
combination of the two.
Yeah, absolutely.
Craig's after joining us as well. I know Craig was working late, so the Europa, as bad as it is, when you end up in it, when you get the business end, it's a gateway to the Champions League. Absolutely.
But you've
And I think
way too much to do before it becomes, like, realistically, you have to get to the quarterfinals before you're even thinking about it. Because at the quarterfinals, you're still 5 games away from being in it. And at that stage, you could be in third place and have guaranteed the Champions League position nearly. So that's a no-brainer.
Plus,
you're not getting dragged to the end of the fucking earth. You know, Kazakhstan, Armenia, Moldova, all these absolute shithole countries where you're going to play Europa football on a Thursday night with an armed guard going into the stadium on a poxy flight with your game now being 4 o'clock on a Sunday or 8 o'clock on a Monday night. You're all right, thanks, I'll pass.
Or the flip side of that is you could be 15 games into the Premier League and you could be so far off the pace that top four is not a chance. And all you have to cling on to is Europa League. And we've seen that. We've seen that the prime example was West Ham. Now unfortunately they fell short. But that was the prime example, wasn't it?
West Ham. We're sure West Ham were in the shake-up for top four for the whole season, nearly. They fell off towards the end.
No, they pitted away towards the end because they started focusing on the Europa, remember?
That's what I'm saying to you. So if the Europa hadn't been involved and they'd have kept the foot on the accelerator, they absolutely could have grabbed the top 4 spot. But their squad was being stretched by too many games over the course of the season. To win that Europa, you have about 15 or 16 games from start to finish. It's 15 or 16 games that nobody wants.
Morris looking for a cheap night out. Look, my only hope for the Europa is an Irish team get in and we get a nice fixture in the Aviva.
Fuck yeah, hell, man.
Oh, Morris, there'll be about 3,000 people in the Aviva if it happens.
Jeez, I don't know about that. There was a good few in Tallaght Stadium tonight, wasn't there? Probably 6,000 watching Rovers and Ludogorets.
How did you get a score on it?
Tell you now. Through the wonders of modern. Shamrock Rovers won 2-1.
Shamrock Rovers won 2-1.
On the night and lost 4-1 aggregate.
That's unlucky.
Very unlucky. That's unlucky. And you know what? Actually, the Ludogorets goal came the 91st minute, and last week they got one in the 93rd.
That's very right, yeah. They gave away a horrible goal towards the end of the game last week.
Yeah. So at one stage in that game, Rovers were 2-0 up, and that legitimately could have been 2-2, if only for the late goal last week. That's unlucky from Stephen Bradley's side. I'd like to see them get a spot in the Europa, I have to say. I enjoyed watching them in the last round against Hibs from Malta. They were very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Anything to add or anything else you want to add to it? I was reading up last couple of things. I heard Kasper Schmeichel might be on his way to Nice. Did you see this? If Leicester can get
the rumour, all right.
That came out of the blue, didn't it? Came out of nowhere. I didn't see that coming at all, but we'll keep an eye on it.
A very strange rumour for me, I have to say. I couldn't imagine Kasper leaving to head anywhere, especially, to play in France. It's a
Yeah, what were they
huge step
saying? What
down,
did I
isn't
read
it?
today? 12 years, 12 seasons he's there now. Or
He's
something I
been
was reading
phenomenal
today.
for them, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And still plenty to offer. It's not like he's on the slide. Um,
Absolutely.
the other one I said today, Aaron Ramsey was free, released by Juventus today. They terminated his contract with a year to go, so he's free to join the club and stuff like that. So,
I'd say if Rovers get that Europa League spot, they'll try and get him in. Talk about stealing a living as a footballer.
yeah,
Fucking
absolutely.
hell.
No
He's
style for him.
got to be up there with Phil Jones as the fucking mass crusaders stealing money from football clubs at the top league. Jesus Christ.
Promised so much, didn't it? Promised so much and went so south.
But you know what?
Um,
I don't really have an ounce of sympathy because when he was at Arsenal and they offered him a deal, he went, I'm too good for this. I'm going to toddle off the Juventus because I think I'm Johnny Big Bollocks. And what happened to you there, Aaron? Yeah, good
got a
man.
heck
Fair
of a
play to you.
got a heck of a deal though at Juve. Remember?
What's his
Was
legacy like as a footballer?
remember when that deal came through though? Everyone was going, "What?" Massive it was. Um, well, listen, it's been a great show. Just want to thank everyone in the comments. If you can smash that subscribe and bell notification button on the way, obviously smash up the likes as well. Really, really important to us to break that YouTube algorithm. We will be back on Thursday with Thursday Tier Talk. Darren tells me 8:30. I'm not getting off the hook. Has to be 8:30. The gaffer
8:30.
has spoken. 8:30.
8:30 it is.
I will be on Del Boy. Check out Del Boy's channel on Thursday at 7 o'clock. I think we're kicking off. He has
And
me
we'll,
on there.
you know what we'll do? We'll take Morris's last comment tonight as the opener for Thursday night.
The opener for Thursday night. Thoughts on Stephen Kenny's son going to play for Northern Ireland? Kenny out.
We'll open with that on Thursday.
We will. That will definitely be on our Thursday Tier Talk on Thursday. Thanks for that, Morris.
Absolutely.
Arming us with stuff all the time. Should I say
Yeah.
arming us with stuff when I'm talking about players going
When you're
from
talking
Ireland to
about the
Northern
North,
Ireland?
not sure about
No, I
that.
have to be very, very careful when I say arming us with content.
Oh,
Um,
God.
Until next time, folks, it's been a pleasure. Really appreciate you sticking with us. I'm hoping to be a little bit more over the weather rather than under it come Thursday. And we will talk to you again real soon. Cheers, bro.
Thanks, brother.